Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I think we are live. Today is June the 16th. It is Thursday morning. The spirit world sees all, do they? Well, I think by this time, unless you're a newcomer, unless this is the first time you've come to this show, I think by this time we pretty much know, don't we, that the spirit world does see all. I was actually... Well, before I get started, let's do the thing, shall we? First of all, we'd like to say good morning to Grey Eagle, who is, as always, standing to my right side. And I'd like to say good morning to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary.
How are you?
I'm fine and dandy for this Thursday morning.
And where are you?
I'm feet away from you. I don't know how many feet, but I am behind a closed door.
Quite a few feet, I think, away from me. Anyway, so we have Chris here in Florida, and I'm enjoying myself. I don't know, Chris, are you enjoying yourself? Is it too soon to tell?
Hey, I get to swim in a pool every day. What's more enjoyable than that?
I know. Well, last night, I'll tell everybody, last night we were out with a friend to dinner, and then for some reason or another I was tired, so I made myself a drink, sat on the sofa and turned on the TV to watch one of my favorite shows. Chris went in the pool. I didn't hear her come in. And I woke up at around 11 o'clock and all the doors were locked and everything was silent. And I got up and I heard slight snoring in the bedroom, which was Chris in her bedroom. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to bed. And I never go to bed before 11 o'clock. It was just 11 o'clock. I never go to bed before 12 o'clock, really. But I went to bed and I went to sleep. And so we all had a very, very early night. But Chris had to sort of, you didn't realize at first, did you, Chris, that I was actually asleep?
No, I didn't. You looked totally engrossed in your program.
And the reality of it was I missed a good program, I think, didn't I? Anyway,
I think so.
I shall go back. I shall rewind what I missed. I should go back and check it out. All right. So yes, Chris is swimming every day, which is really nice for her to do. It's been a little bit hot, unusually hot in Florida, but we're lucky because we're on a lake, so we get all the breezes and so on, and we're only a mile from the beach itself, so we get all of the Gulf breezes, we get the breezes from the lake, so it's good for us. We can stand it. All right, so what else is new today? Nothing really, but we have been talking, Chris and I, about the power of thought, and it is amazing. If somebody tells us something, we tend to believe it or we tend to accept it. It can change our lives because it's like putting little seeds into our minds. Those seeds can be seeds of doubt. Those seeds can be seeds of growth and positivity. And I think that we should talk a little bit today about how important the power of our thoughts are, because I believe that, our thoughts are the most powerful thing we possess. Chris was just telling me about a guy who had an accident on a bike, and he was in a race. We're not going to go into it too much, but how he decided when he was in the hospital and they told him that he would, never walk again and so on, how he decided that he was, well, you can think that if you like, but I'm going to do it differently. And he did it differently. And his determination, the power of his thoughts led him to be determined about actually healing himself, and he did heal himself. I remember many, many years ago, I was at the doctor's surgery, and we were talking about his work and his patients, and he said, I've got patients who are 40 years old, and they're already old, And I've got patients who are 80 who will never be anything but young. It's all in the mind, he said. And then he told me a story about this one guy who was diagnosed with cancer, and he was told, you've only got 6 months to live. And the guy said to the doctor, this is my doctor, it was his patient. The guy said to him, I can't die. I'm a widower. I've got 6 kids. I've got to see them, through their growing up years. I've got to see them through college. No way am I dying. And he determined that he wasn't going to die. And 20 some years later, that guy who had been given 6 months to live with a very severe type of cancer was still very much alive and very much saying to his kids. Of course, these are the extraordinary stories. But another story, and some of you have heard me tell this story, a patient of mine, actually, he went to the doctor, and he was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and he was told, you've got 3 months to live. It's inoperable, I'm sorry, but there we are. And he went home, he put himself to bed then and there, and slowly began to die. It was not quite 3 months after that he was emaciated, he couldn't eat, he was throwing up, etc., etc. And his doctor paid a call on him, and he said to this man's wife, you better come up here with me because I've got something to tell you both. And apparently at the surgery, they had 2 men with the same name. So one of them had cancer and one of them had ulcers. And it was my patient who had the ulcers. They had mixed up the names and therefore mixed up the diagnosis. So my patient, he wasn't my patient at this time, I have to add that. But my patient, there he was slowly dying of cancer, and he was completely emaciated and weak and couldn't talk, and he could barely lift his head and so on and so forth, because after all, he had cancer. And the doctor had to say to him and his wife, I'm really very sorry, we've made a mistake. You don't have cancer at all, you've got stomach ulcers, which are really easily treated. And the power of the mind. Fortunately, that man survived, was able to get out of bed, told there was nothing wrong with him, really. It was after that that he did go in for a surgery to deal with his stomach. And that's when I met him, and he became my patient. But the point I'm making here is that there are so many of us who are susceptible to believing what we're told. There are so many of us who are susceptible to believing, when someone goes to the Social Security office and you say, I've got no money, I've got no car, I've got this, that, sorry, we can't help you. And there are so many people who go away thinking, well, I've done my best, they can't help me. Instead of beating like crazy on the next door and the next door until somebody will help you, until somebody pays attention and takes notice. But there are so many of us who are so susceptible, to not, I don't know what it is, to acceptance, not arguing. I've been in a store on many occasions, and of course we know that, I have this thing, this ability, let's call it a gift, which of course it is. And I'll go and I'll be looking for something and I can't find it. And I'll say to the person, I'll find an assistant, say, can you please, I'm sure, can you help me find this? No, we don't have any. But I know you do. Of course, I can't say that, can I? I can't say, well, I'm psychic and I know you do. So what I do is I'll say, well, can you go in the back room and take a look in the stock room for me and see if you've got them? And sometimes they'll do it and sometimes they won't. And sometimes if I want it badly enough, I'll stand my ground and I won't take no for an answer. And I'll say, I'm pretty sure if you look, you'll find it. And sometimes I can, most times I can push people into actually going and finding what I need. And they usually find what I need because I suppose they want to get rid of me because I'm being a bit of a pain. So they'll find what I need in order to get me off their back. But we're so, as a society, we are so apt to believe what we're told. We're so prone to believing what we're told in pretty much any and every situation. Now, we could go into politics at this point. We could go into media at this point. Boy, oh boy, does the media run the country. We know that, but we're not going to do that. We're moving past that. And I'd like sort of your opinion, those of you, who have an opinion. I'm hoping you all have an opinion. I'd like to hear your opinion on the idea of being able to, with the power of your thoughts, the power of the mind is incredible because we can use that power and encourage that power to be positive, or very often and more often we can use it to sort of be negative, to give up, to say, well, what can we do then? What we don't understand is that once we determine that we can do something about whatever the situation is, however dire the situation is, we can do something to make it right, or to alleviate the issue, or to at least find the energy to deal with what we have to deal with. I believe that if we determine that we are going to use that power that we're given, we can use it and it can be very positive for us. But there are a lot of people who struggle with that. What is it? What can I do? I'm just one little person. And somewhere the other day, in fact, I showed it to Chris. It's on a piece of paper somewhere around me here. But if you think that you're useless, that you're helpless, that you're just one small person in the scheme of things, what can you do? I think the saying is try staying in a room for a few hours with a mosquito or two. They're the tiniest creatures, but boy, oh boy, can they have an effect on us. They can bite us, they can sting us, they can do all sorts of things. We know they're around. So sometimes perhaps that's what we have to do. We have to be mosquitoes. We have to make trouble. We have to dig and poke and prod and even bite sometimes. But we have to be those mosquitoes that can make the difference. Maybe, yes, we are each of us is one small person. But imagine that you're a mosquito, right? Imagine that you can actually make someone pay attention to you if you work hard enough at it. So maybe that should be what we're trying to do today, be mosquitoes. What do you all think? Chris, how are we doing?
We're doing good, Rosemary. We've got comments and hellos, etc., in the chat room. But I'm also reminded, as part of this conversation, think back to when you're in an elementary school or even a high school, and perhaps you were the kid that had to move from one school to another. Maybe you were the popular one in the first school. Maybe you weren't the popular one, but you reinvent yourself from moving from one place to another. And I think our whole life we reinvent ourselves. We were students and people living at home. Then we came into the workforce. We met different people. Perhaps we got married. Maybe we've reached retirement age and we have to figure out what else we want to do. Every single time, by a simple thought, by a simple decision, we can reinvent ourselves.
I think if our thoughts are, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it, if our thoughts go in that way, then your energy is likewise nothing you can do about it. And people put up with situations that are the worst because they think there's nothing they can do about it. You heard the word think in there, right? They think. Their thoughts are not geared towards positivity. Their thoughts are geared towards, oh, well, I'm just one person. But as I've just said about the mosquitoes, try staying in a room full of mosquitoes, those tiny little creatures, and nothing at all in the scheme of things. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, can they change? They change the environment. They change. They're able to sort of make a difference, albeit not a nice one. But they are teeny little things, tiny, way tinier than we are. If they can do something to be noticed, then we can do something to be noticed.
I also think about, let's say, that individual who has a husband or wife who either verbally or physically beats them down, and they think to themselves, well, I must have deserved it. I'm not worthy. I'm not, this, I'm not that. It's just one thought, one decision that you can suddenly say, I've had enough, or the decision may be, it's time to leave. I mean, it's literally one thought, one decision that can change your entire world.
Okay, what does everybody in the chat room think?
Well, Andrea says, good afternoon, Rosemary. It's always lovely to hear your voice. It's coming up to my mom's first anniversary of her passing on the 30th of June. I'm not going to ask if she's okay because strangely I believe she is. I'm sending well wishes from the UK.
I wondered where you were because the good afternoon thing is an indication because it's still morning here in the States. Where in the UK, my darling, are you from? We want to know that. And I love the fact that you know your mum is okay. And I love the fact that you're joining in and joining in on our chat room. But tell me, where are you from? Where are you? Where are you at this precise moment in time? Um, Let us know.
Rhonda says, I'm reading about the power of our thoughts in your book, Give the Gift of Healing.
Okay,
I'm
then.
working on my thoughts. It's a bit tough some days.
I know. I know. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when we've been, if we've been brought up in a family where, our thoughts and what we're thinking and what we're feeling means very little. It's hard to overcome that. If we're brought up in a family where we're encouraged to be positive, and when we're encouraged to do, it's easier, I think, in many ways, but it's still not an easy thing to sort of pay attention to your thoughts and pay attention to knowing when you're sort of your thoughts are going down that negative path, or when they're going up towards being positive. And if we become aware of our thoughts, then we become aware of those moments when we're in danger of going down the slippery slope, and we're able to yank ourselves up and to say, no, 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 that's not the way we should be thinking. We should be thinking positively. We should be thinking positive thought. Now, when you're in a desperate situation, or you're upset about something, it is so hard to not go down that slippery slope. It is so hard not to think, what did I do to deserve this? Or it's so hard to think, nothing is ever going right for me. Uh, I had someone the other day say, and I was astounded by it because she meant it, I've wasted 30 years of my life. You heard that right, Chris. Somebody said that. I've,
Yes.
wa- I've wasted I've wasted 30 years of my life. I've got nothing to be thankful for. And I was shocked, stunned, appalled, all of those things, and wanted to really give this person a really good shaking. And I did, in my way. Because if you think that 30 years or 10 years or 5 minutes of your life is wasted, then shame on you. Because those 5 minutes of your life, if you're smiling, they're not wasted. If you're crying, they're not wasted. It means that you're feeling, something is happening with you. You are living, you are paying attention to life. Um, every moment of every day should be precious to us, and when we're talking like this, we know it, we know that it should be precious to us, but there are still those people who, I call them those people who, are you the kind of person who looks at your glass and sees it as half empty, or are you the person who looks at your glass and sees it as half full? And if you're a person who looks at your glass and sees it as half empty, then let me say something to you. Expect to be miserable for most of your life, because that's the way you go. Expect to be unfulfilled for most of your life, because if you look at a glass and you see it as half empty, you're always going to be looking to the negative. You're always going to be looking to things that are wrong with your life rather than the things that are right with your life. I believe, Chris, somebody said something to you about there's nothing good in my life. I seem to remember we had that conversation.
I think there's been 3 or 4 this week.
I know, and I've got nothing to be thankful for. Well, don't come to me and expect me to join into your pity party. I will sympathize with you if that's the way you're feeling. I will understand even if that's the way you're feeling. And then I will say to you, now, let's have a look at what you actually do have to be thankful for. Were you able to get out of bed this morning? Wait a minute. Were you able to eat this morning? Were you able to go to work, or were you able to speak to a friend today? Or look at the things that you are doing that you can value, that are important to you. If you are the kind of person who looks at the end of the day and says, well, that was a waste of time, then why are you here? What are you doing? You are wasting a gift, a God-given gift. So you need to switch gears and switch your thoughts. My glass, even if it's a quarter full, it's a quarter full. It's never a quarter empty. And if I look at a glass and I see that it's empty, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to fill it up. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill it up with goodness and positivity and life and joy. Somebody, I think, asked, I don't know if it was last week or whether it was on Saturday, somebody actually said to me, you're looking good, Rosemary. Do you have any tips? Yes, I do. The tip is, big tip, big news here. It shouldn't be big news to any of you. Find joy. Find something to smile about. Find something, one thing in your life every single day that you can smile about. I'll guarantee you, no matter how lonely you are, no matter how much on your own you are, no matter how many losses you've had in your life, no matter what has been going on that is desperate and terrible and awful, look outside and find a butterfly, or find a flower, or find something that you can smile about. Because I guarantee you, if you start to do it, that's what you will do. You will find, if you change your attitude, change your mind, change your thoughts, you will find there's always, hey, the sun is shining. And that reminds me of a good friend of mine. She had a neighbor who lived across the street, and she was coming out one day, and she called over this who's an older man. She called over to him, hi, isn't it a beautiful day today? And he looked up at her and he said, every day is a beautiful day, it's just that the sun is shining today. Let's all try and get that attitude.
All right, Barbara's saying, good morning. On Saturday, you spoke of Mike and baseball. So
did.
does my husband still love fishing? Does my mom still dance and swim? Do our loved ones follow the same hobbies, or do they follow new passions? What exactly do they do on the other side? And any messages from them?
Well, everyone does something differently. I think we told the story on Saturday about Chris and I watching Field of Dreams, and Mike, when he was on this side, was a huge baseball fanatic. I think fanatic is the word, isn't it, Chris?
I would agree.
He was fanatical about baseball and had been fanatical about baseball since he was what? A small boy.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was fanatical. So okay, let's ask the question. is Mike still fanatical about baseball? I'm sorry, I've got him right here, and he's laughing. Of course he is. That doesn't go away. Uh, he's not playing baseball. He never really did play so much baseball when he was older, but he coached. Apparently, he tells me. But he's interested, and he's interested in the things that he and Chris were interested in, and Chris travelled all over with him with baseball. I won't say you were quite as fanatical as Mike, but you definitely have a big interest in baseball too, right, Chris? So,
I do.
uh, I remember something about fishing, and I remember um, giving doing a workshop. It's quite some time ago, actually, but I remember there was a couple of brothers in the audience, and wanting to know if their brother was okay. And the brother in the spirit world was describing that the one thing that was common to all three brothers that they used to do together always. I'm told actually Gregor is telling me that there were four brothers. Sorry. The one thing, let's get this story straight. The one thing that they all did together as boys and then as they grew, then as men, was they fished. So he was talking to them about the fact that he was still fishing, still going with them fishing, and then described the secret fishing hole that only those four boys knew about. And that really clinched it for the brothers who were in the audience. They knew they were talking to their brother because they did have this very, very secret special place that they used to go fishing, and he described it to them perfectly. Everybody in the spirit world, we do things differently. I've heard people in the spirit world saying that they're dancing. I've heard people say we're dancing at your wedding. I've even heard people saying we're dancing at your funeral because it's a celebration. It's good. It's a joyful thing. People do, depending on their interest. And of course, the universe and the many universes that are out there are huge. Um, I did have a lovely, lovely man. I'm not going to say the name of the client who came to me, but I will say that I'm being reminded that her husband was Brian, and he was actually saying, "I'm doing nothing till she comes. I'm sort of happy where I am." So I'm sure he was learning, growing, but he's going to be exploring when his wife comes to him. Everybody's different, and everybody has different things that they like to do. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I had a young man once who was a very, very, very keen snowboarder, and he used to snowboard all the time. He was killed very, very tragically, but he was able to tell his mom and his dad and his brother, "I'm not snowboarding," because they said, "Are you still snowboarding?" He said, "No, I'm cloud boarding," and I thought that that was wonderful, and he was laughing about that. Everybody does different things. Chris.
Brian says, just remember you become your thoughts.
Oh, Brian, I love it. You do become your thoughts. You are what you think, and you are what you believe that you are. Our thoughts drive us, and they drive us towards positivity or they drive us towards negativity. And if you are that kind of a half empty glass kind of person, you're always going to be moaning about something. I don't have. Here is my tip. Do I moan about things? Do I complain? I'm sure I do, just as much as anybody else. But I laugh. When I hear myself moaning too much, I think, oh God, there I go again. And I laugh about it. I make fun of it. I make fun of my own self. I hate to be around negativity, and I hate to be negative my own self. So, every now and again, sometimes I have to kick myself to say, "Look, come on, get a grip." Life is for joy, life is for living, life is for fun, life is for sharing, life is for living in the best and the most positive way. And Brian, I love that you said that. I really do. Because yes, you are what you think, you are who you think.
Do you remember that quote, Rosemary, from I think it's Lao Tzu? Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Do you remember
I do.
hearing that?
Yeah, I do. We should write that down and we should put that up for everybody to copy. Or you can go to Google and find your own thing. But oh boy, oh boy. And when you read it, and if you read it slowly, as you're reading it to yourself and you read it slowly, and you're absorbing every line and every sentence, you realize, you really, really realize if you're sensitive enough, if you are um, if you are intent on learning and growing, these things that people say, I've said over the years, they resonate. They really resonate within you and can really make a difference to you and really help you to understand how important it is to be thinking positively rather than be thinking negatively. I refuse to be a negative person. And some of you have heard me say this before, and this is why I can say with my parents, and especially with my mother, I do thank my parents because they taught me how not to be. And my mother she was a retrospective soul. She was the most negative, the most complaining, the most moaning, the most awful person. She just never saw the light ever. She, you know, if she had a moment of fun, it would be followed by a yes, but, And when you talk about, you just said that quote, you become this, it becomes your character, so on and so forth. It showed in her face as she got older. And I would sometimes, as a kid, look at her when she was, screaming or yelling or being mean or standing over me. And she really did. I remember thinking, at one point, I remember thinking to myself, horrified, and looking at her, thinking, do I look like that? It was not nice. And I remember sort of, examining myself in the mirror and do I look like that? Do I have that hook nose? Do I have that mean mouth? Do I have that cruelty that shines in me? And I was determined, determined that I would never ever be that or look like that. And so I was so grateful. Even though I was on the receiving end of all of that, I was so grateful. I can honestly say I'm so grateful that they taught me how not to be. And luckily it's working. I think, Chris, what do you think? If you've been here for a week, am I
Yeah, but I've
understanding?
known you for over 20 years, so what's the difference, you know?
But you can be seen. People put on a face as well, don't they? You can be, I can be here talking to all of you and then get off of here being all nice and joy and all the rest of it, and then go and kick the dog. I could be that kind of a person. Luckily I'm not. Unfortunately, I don't have a dog to kick. I do have a cat. I could kick the cat.
Hey.
But I think it's so important that we look at ourselves and we, take a look in the mirror at yourself, examine yourself, take a look at your eyes. Are your eyes kind? Are they full of fun? Do they twinkle? Do they sparkle? What's going on there with you? Be happy. Be happy. What's that song? Da, 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 anyway, whatever
Don't
that.
worry, be happy.
There you are. Don't worry. Be happy. Easier said than done. I know that. I fully understand that because my life is dealing with tragedies, other people's tragedies, and sometimes my own. My life is all about pain and hurt and so on, which is probably why I'm able to laugh as much as I do, because it's like survival instinct. I've got to get above it somehow. And I've always, always tried to see the positive in every situation.
I didn't tell you this story yesterday, Rosemary, when we were at Walmart and I was waiting for you to get through the line on your transaction. There was this man wearing his bright yellow fluorescent hat and vest, and he was the guy who had to go out into the parking lot and bring in carts. So he had come in, put his carts in the queue, and then he had wandered down the aisles. And as he's passing everybody, it didn't matter if it was a customer or somebody that worked there. He was like, "Hey, hi, good
Oh,
morning. How are you?"
nice,
And when
nice.
he circled around, he came past me. I stopped him and I said, "What's your secret?" And and he stopped and he looked at me and goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "What's your secret to being so happy?" And he looked at me like, "Are you seriously asking me this?" And he stood there and he goes, "You really want to know?" I said, "Yes, I do." I said, "Look at all these people that you just brighten their day when you walk by them." And he said, "Well, before I even put my feet on the ground as I get up in the morning, I tell myself, 'You're going to have a good day. Today
Oh,
is going to be a great day.' And then I get up and I act as if today is a great day." And I was like, "Wow."
that's so nice. That's so nice.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
probably one of those people who really does have a lot of pain and hurt in his life, and he's learned how to combat it. That's brilliant. Oh, you didn't tell me that, Chris, but I'm glad you
No.
now.
Yeah.
Great, good. Keep.
So Andrea has responded back to you. Andrea says, "Hi, Rosemary. I'm in Barnsley and your old seamstress friend."
Oh, wow. How are you doing? Yes, yes. Oh, I know who you are. Oh, how lovely, how lovely, how lovely, how lovely. When I come to England, if I ever get back there, which of course I'm going to, you could meet us, my friends and I. You could meet us for lunch if you'd like. Maybe I'll bring some stuff for you to stitch up for me. I know who you are. And Andrea has a really great story of her own that maybe she'll tell us one day.
Wow. Brian said he's from Essex.
Oh, right. Okay, then. Essex, which part? We want, Essex is nice. Essex is nice. I lived in Essex for a while. Which part of Essex are you from, Brian? And oh, it's nice that we've got at least two Brits on the show here. We've probably got more than two, but anyway.
Yeah, we've got a full chat happening here, so
Uh, okay, then.
um
Where are
we
you all from? We want to know.
there we go. Michelle says, "I lost my wife a year ago. My thought is if she is doing okay."
Um, it would be so easy for me to just, of course, yes, of course she is. But I'm actually checking with Grey Eagle, so give me, yes, I don't need a minute anymore. Um, yes, absolutely. And Michelle, there's something about feathers. I don't know what, but oh, like you remember the old-fashioned plumes that they wore on hats, big feathers? I've got to tell you something about lots of feathers or a big plume of feathers. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's a message for you. I hope you can figure it out. I hope it makes sense to you. But I'm sure she's doing more than fine. Chris,
Judith says, "I was more energetic and insistent when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I am less pushy."
is that a good thing? I don't know. I always try to be nice. Uh, Even when I'm dealing with a tough situation, even if I'm complaining, if I have to ask to see a manager in a store because I'm not getting the service that I think I should, or someone is being rude to me. I remember there was a while ago, in a car park here in Florida. This person wandering around and around and around and completely lost. And so as I got out of my car, I could see him wandering around the car park, and I went up to him and said, are you okay? Can I help you? And he obviously was not right, and he said, they won't let me go in there, meaning the store. They won't let me go in. And there's a bench there, and I like to go and I like to sit in the bench, and I have to wait. And he told me somebody he had to wait for who was going to be picking him up. But they've told me I have to wait outside, and then I'm not allowed to wait inside. And this guy was really very, very distressed. So I said, well, you come in with me then. So I went in with him, and they had a bench just inside one of the doors. And I said, you sit there, and I'm going to see if I can figure out what's going on. And I went to the information desk, and I pointed out this guy. And the woman behind the information desk said to me, oh, him, he's just a nuisance. I've just told him he can't come in here anymore. And I said, but he's sitting there quietly waiting for someone. Yes, well, he has this carer who comes, but we don't like him in here. And so at some point, you can imagine I asked for the manager. And at some point, I read the riot act, but I did it nicely. And then the woman who was so mean behind the desk actually started to tell me that she had a daughter. Well, I have to put up with this sort of thing as well, and my daughter, and this and that, and she'd become so negative in her own life that was spilling out into other areas of her life. The manager assured me that they would allow him to come in and sit on the bench, and I went and sat down with him, and we got him a cup of tea, and they had a number that they called to some sort of a helpline. So they knew this guy really well, but they'd said to him, you're going to have to wait out in the car park when you can't, we're not letting you stay in here anymore. And it's Florida, and it's hot. And to send anybody out into the heat, and especially someone who is confused, was a really mean thing to do. They won't ever do it again. I made sure that they wouldn't ever do it again. But as I was berating them and explaining to them that they couldn't do this, I was being really nice about it. Because after all, everybody, the woman behind the desk, she's got her own troubles. I'm sure the manager of the store has got his own troubles. We all have our own troubles. So you can see where sometimes people are coming from, but you also sometimes have to step in and say, as much as you're having a bad day, and as much as I understand that you're having a bad day, this isn't right. So I don't know if that's being pushy or if that's just simply being determined. Judith, I want you to be more determined. Can you be more determined? You don't have to be pushy to make a point. Chris.
Right. It's the whole difference between being aggressive versus being assertive.
Yes, yes. Or being bossy rather than being assertive. You know, so many people do become aggressive, as you've said, because they feel that they're in the right, or that they're tired, or that they've had enough, or they, feel that someone's getting special treatment, or whatever it is. But, if we can learn that we can be more effective, what is that saying? The iron fist in the velvet glove. You can be much more effective if you are kind, but firm. If you are nice, if you are gentle, but firm, you can be so much more effective. And I think people can respond so much better when to you and to what you have to say to them if you are firm about it, but respectful. Chris.
All right. Well, Andrea had continued. So she said, having said, I feel my mom is okay since her passing. A work colleague today is struggling with her mom's passing a year ago next month in July. She asked, how am I okay with the impending anniversary of my mom while she is still heartbroken? And I'm not sure, unless it's my complementary therapy training or the power of my mind to carry on living. I've talked to my work colleague and tried to explain to her how the diagnosis of my mom's illness made me so ill with anxiety. I told her my mom's passing wouldn't make me that ill again, which takes immense strength to do.
I think so. I think so. Um, I think what we have to try to do is to understand, um, those of us who have passed, those in the spirit world, they're fine. It's those of us who are left behind who are not. Uh, it was interesting. The other day, I had a consultation with someone, and uh, they asked how their mother had passed, and she was explaining, you know, the process of dying, and how at some point there were so many friends and family who came in the spirit world to meet her. So there's so much joy and happiness to see all of these people you're never going to think you're ever going to see again. There's so much joy and love, and seeing her mum and dad again, and being able to see, her husband who had passed before, and she was explaining the way that she'd passed, and how joyful it was. Of course, those of us who are left behind, it's not so joyful, is it? We miss them. We love them. They're not in our lives anymore. We can't. I think about my daughter. We've spoken today already. We speak at least 3 or 4 times every day. I worry about how she's going to cope when it's my turn to go. But I'm hoping that she'll see that even though she is very unhappy and missing me, uh, it's party time. Uh, it's a joyful and a wonderful thing. Death is not a punishment, and we have to get over this idea of the fact that either we're being punished or our loved ones who have passed are being punished. Death is not a punishment. Death is a joyful and a wonderful experience. And I was going to say, as much as we love them, and because we love those who have left us or who are leaving us, because we love them, it's important for us to remember that as devastated as we are, we need them to see us smiling. We need them to see us getting on with our lives in a positive way. And because we love them, if we love them unselfishly, that's what we'll do. As hard as it might be to smile every day when your heart is breaking, that's what we have to do for our loved ones in the spirit world, because they need to know that we are doing okay. And it's a funny thing, and I've talked about this before. In my life, having to pretend, because the job that I had was in the service industry, and having to pretend you're on show all the time, you're smiling all the time, you have to be smiling because otherwise you wouldn't have a job, because nobody wants a miserable person in a social environment. And years and years ago, I would go to work, I would put a smile on my face, and people would actually say to me, Rosemary, you're always smiling. We think that you're the happiest person because you're always smiling. And I would go home and sit at the foot of the stairs and try to take the smile off of my face, because it was because inside I was heartbroken. I was dying inside, but the smile kept staying on there and wouldn't come off, or wouldn't come off soon enough. And then one day, quite a while afterwards, of all of this pretend stuff, I was driving the car one day, and the radio was on, and I was singing away, I was smiling, and all of a sudden I thought, wait a minute, I'm really smiling. This is real. So, that saying, you fake it till you make it. So that's what we have to do.
Andrew says, Rosemary, I understand that I don't need a medium to say to my late wife that I love her. I can just say her name and what I want to say. This might sound like a daft question. I have been told I have a dog in the spirit world, yet I've never had a dog, except for the one that's currently in Ghana. There has been a meltdown in the relationship with my late wife's family, and they can't even be courteous enough to send pictures of the dog. How do I acknowledge the presence of a dog I don't know for sure what it looks like nor its name, yet I've been told it's around me?
I don't know who told you that it was around you, Andrew. Maybe they're right, but even as I'm talking to you, I'm asking Gregor, we don't see a dog around you. So I can't tell you about what I don't see, and I don't see a dog around you. We do have to be very careful about the things that we believe and the things that people tell us. And, sometimes, people who maybe have a little bit of a gift, who knows, they might imagine, or they might imagine that that's what you have around you, or I don't know. I don't want to go there. All I can tell you, Andrew, is I don't see a dog around you, so I can't help you. And I would be doubtful, and especially because Gregor is shaking his head. I would be doubtful if somebody told you you've got a dog around you. I wouldn't. Don't be careful what you buy into now, darling. Just be careful. Chris,
Again, the power of thought.
power of thought. Yes.
All right. Donna, who's on for the first time watching you live, says hello.
Hello.
Tracy's saying
What was
life.
her? What was the name?
Donna, Donna.
Hello, Donna. And how are you? And are you enjoying this program? Because we do all sorts of things. We did a cooking show yesterday. Chris, did anybody see the cooking show that we did yesterday?
They haven't mentioned it so far from what I can see in the chat.
Well, we did a cookie show yesterday. If you didn't see it, you missed it. Oh well, but we did it sort of as an off the cuff thing. We just did. You see, I went outside. Gregor tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "It's time you cut that basil down." Americans say basil, we say basil. It's time you cut it down because it's going to get flowering if you're not careful. And I like to make my pesto with basil that is not flowering, and so it was almost as if he was saying, "Come on, you got time, you can do this." So I went out and I cut a big bunch of basil, and we made pesto. And Chris said, "Well, I'm here. Let's film it." So that's what we did. So where is it, Chris, if people want to find it? We had a fun time.
It will be on your YouTube channel.
There you go.
And we'll put that information up at the end
There
of
you
this
go.
show.
There you go. And Donna, so check us out. There's a lot more to us than meets the eye. Chris.
Tracy says life is so precious. I always think positive even if I'm feeling down.
Tracy, I love you. You're a good girl. Well done. Keep up with that. Even sometimes it's really hard to do, isn't it? But this is where the power of thought comes in, and this is why we should apply that power that we have. It is the most powerful thing that we have. So, excuse me. So apply it.
Okay, then Barbara says, thank you to both of you for this pep talk. You give me encouragement that I can make progress with my anxiety and sadness by thinking differently. All right, we'll wait for Rosemary to join back on. Something's happened. It looks like her internet went down for a second. Can you hear me, Rosemary? No, we can't hear you. All right, we'll wait 1 second. Must be somebody called in or something. So we'll just give ourselves a break while she logs back in. Here we go.
Am I in?
All right. You are in.
Sorry. My lovely, lovely Jessica called from England, and we don't know how to stop that from happening. If somebody calls in, it's usually my daughter who does it. If somebody calls in, what we usually do is we have to redo this whole thing. But here I am. Carry on, Chris.
All right, so we're going back to Barbara. Thank you both for the pep talk. You give me an encouragement that I can make progress with my anxiety and sadness by thinking differently. I appreciate your wisdom.
Well, Barbara, I didn't know we were giving pep talks. Um, when we give pep talks, it's funny, isn't it? When I give pep talks, or when I tell somebody, now look, I'm going to have a conversation with you here, people who know me always dread it when I say I need to talk to you, because they know that something serious is coming. But very often, you give a pep talk to someone, as you call it, Barbara, and it's for yourself as much as it's for everybody else. So even as we're talking about positive thinking, it's a reminder to us too. So we're giving ourselves a pep talk also. Chris.
Betta says, Dear Rosemary, first, let me tell you that you are really beautiful today.
Oh, thank you.
Second, will my child be able to find a new job soon?
Oh, well, yes, comes right back from Grey Eagle. So the answer is yes. So there you are, Betta. I didn't expect that so so fast in my ear there, but yes. Chris.
Heather's saying, hello from Italy. I know you love it.
I do. I love Italy. Whereabouts in Italy are you, Heather? It's all very well saying hello, but Italy's, is a small country, but it's a big place. There are lots of wonderful places in Italy that you could be. You could be on the beach. You could be, I don't know, up in the mountains. Let us know. All of you out there. We want to know where you're calling from. We want to know and to sort of try to visualize.
Eric says, thank you so very much. I'm filled with gratitude today.
Well, Eric, okay, you've got to stop sending me all these wonderful pictures. But for those of you who don't know, Eric is my daffodil man and gardener extraordinaire. And we will be sharing some of Eric's tips from time to time for those of you who garden, and for those of you who still want to know more about how to. What was it yesterday? Eric gave me a tip about growing basil, which
With
was
banana?
soaking banana skins in water overnight, and then using the water to feed the basil. And I've been thinking about it, and I think it must be the potassium, because I know that bananas have a lot of potassium. Maybe it's the potassium in the banana skins. I don't know. I'm guessing here. I know Eric will come back and let me know one way or another if I'm correct, but I'm thinking maybe potassium, maybe basil leaves really appreciate the potassium. Who knows? See, I can think these things out if I'm, giving a little time. I can sort of figure things out. Chris.
All right, we're coming right up on time, but Andrea had also responded back to you saying, thank you for your interpretation of when we pass over. It's our 25th wedding anniversary next year, and we're coming over to our favorite place. Yes, Florida. I'd
Oh,
love to join you on your sofa and join in telling our baby story and tales from the sewing room at French dressing at Meadow Hall.
which is
If
no
you
longer there.
promise not to touch my belly again.
It's a date, Andrea. It is a date. I'd love to have you on my sofa. I'd love to see you again, and I'd love to revisit the story. We can tell everyone about the story of. Well, you've already given it away, haven't you? We can tell the story about the baby. I don't suppose his baby any. He or she, I'm not sure. I should know this, shouldn't I? I'm not suppose it's a baby anymore. Uh, Let us know. Yes, you are welcome. You are having an official invitation from me. Yes, come sit on my sofa with me, Andrea. I'd love it.
All right, one last comment before we go.
Okay.
Lorraine says, I was grumpy this morning.
Oh,
I got charged 3 times at the supermarket. I had to drive back and get a refund.
no.
I was so over the top annoyed.
Oh.
So, yes, I'm happy to hear your words of wisdom today. It put things in perspective.
Lorraine, don't you hate when that happens? I'm sure, and good for you for checking on your shopping list. Good for you that you saw it, because I'm not sure that I would have been able to figure that out. I'm glad you're not feeling so grumpy today. Look, I'm giving you a smile just for you, Lorraine, from me to you. Don't be grumpy anymore. Life is too short, and I'm sure that you will laugh about it maybe later. All right, that's it then for today. Time is up. We've enjoyed ourselves. Now, we did this sort of off the cuff thing yesterday with the cooking. We're going to be doing more of that sort of thing. We're going to be doing more off the cuff thing. And in fact, I have in my refrigerator marinating some delicious chicken wings. And we know that there's a holiday coming up in the States. Is it this coming weekend, Chris? I can't remember.
Well, Father's Day is this weekend, and then
Oh,
the 4th of July will be coming up.
right. So, anyway, I've got chicken wings marinating. So we might do a little thing on that. You just never know when we're going to pop up, and we're going to be doing some off the cuff stuff as well. And so just keep watching for us, keep looking out for us. If you are not subscribed, subscribe, because that way you get notifications. If you want to know more about us, please go to the website, rosemaryaltea.com. You will see our off the cuff stuff. You will see our bottom brick stuff. Oh gosh, so good, bottom brick stuff. You'll see all of the things that we do, all of the activities that we do, and we will notify you. You know, just a quick bing, it'll go on your phone or wherever, just to say we're live, we're doing off the cuff or something. I promise we won't inundate you with stuff. I promise. But if you do want to be subscribed, or if you do want to be on the email list, please subscribe. Go to the website, click on subscribe, and you'll get notifications. And we send a newsletter out every month, and I usually put a little something in the newsletter. And Chris is great with the newsletter. She finds all sorts of things to put on there. Go to the website, rosemaryaltea.com. Email us, Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, or Rosemary, at rosemaryaltea.com. Email us, let us know what you're up to, let us know what you'd like to know more about, sort of join in with us. If you want to join in with our Healing Hands Around the World, then go to YouTube and find out how you can do that. We are hoping to do a Healing Hands show next week. Is that a surprise to you, Chris? Did I just surprise you with that? If you want to join in with that and talking about healing and helping you either to receive healing from us, or if you want to know about becoming a healer, join in with those shows. And you might want to sort of get ahead of the game and go into YouTube and look for Healing Hands Around the World, and go to my channel, Healing Hands Around the World, and there are lots and lots and lots of videos in there that will be helpful to you, either if you want to receive healing, or if you yourself would like to know how to give healing, how to be a healer. So off you go. So do that. We shall definitely be back on Saturday morning with our story time. I've no idea what the story is going to be yet, but I'm sure Greg will help me out with that. In the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to say a special thank you to Chris. Good job, Chris. Are you going in the pool now, Chris? Is that what you're going to be doing after
Oh,
this?
no, you have a busy afternoon.
I do. Oh, I do. She's cracking the whip, as I knew she would, which we love. So I should be busy all afternoon. But then she's going in the pool later on, I'm sure of it. And I should be cooking chicken wings. And what else shall we be doing? Anyway, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. story time. Watch for us. You never know when we're going to be popping in and out. Until I see you again, I'd like to say very, very much again, thank you all for joining us, and special thanks to Greg, of course. Please, everybody, have a very blessed rest of the day, and have a very blessed weekend. Bye-bye.